I thought it would be best for us to, as a college football community, have a look in the mirror moment and just say, you know what, yeah, we are a little bit toxic. Nothing wrong with that. We all have a little bit of toxic traits to us, but what, as college football fans, do we specifically do that we can laugh at ourselves and laugh at maybe your buddy who does this, and it's just a little bit of overkill? The first thing that I think that we do, man, as college football fans, we're great at this. We love piecing back together the previous season with an alternate reality. Like, it's always, hey, if this one play went differently, and I've done this on this show for a couple of different teams because I think there's some salt to it, but there's some guys that will take a 5-7 season and talk themselves into how they could have been 9-3 and how they maybe should have been 9-3. Hey, if that field goal goes in, we beat that team, we get some momentum, we get some confidence. Our quarterback probably plays better because he got a win instead of a loss. He starts throwing darts. We beat that next team. We go on a hot streak. Like, hey, man, maybe that's the case, but it's a little bit more likely that your defensive line just couldn't stop anybody, and that's why y'all missed a bowl game. I'm not naming a specific team because I don't have one in mind, but I'm telling you, as toxic college football fans, we're guilty of this. It's great. It's what we do, but just keep an eye on that when it comes to the self-evals this spring. Another thing here when it comes to how toxic we are as college football fans, this is like legitimately toxic. There's always that recruit that you were in the top 2 for, top 3 for. Maybe if you're really ambitious, you were in the top 5 of the Hayes Fawcett graphic that dropped for that kid, and then he narrows down his list. You're not in that top 3, or he doesn't pick you when it comes to landing that commitment when he grabs the hat on signing day. And the thing that you hear a lot is, kid wasn't a take. Hey, he didn't. You know why he didn't commit to us? Because he wasn't going to play. He didn't commit to us because we actually didn't have an offer for him on signing day. I'm not telling you that isn't true like some small percentage of the time, but for the most part, man, the kid just made a decision best for him and his family. Was NIL a factor? Yeah, maybe. Probably was when it comes to what today is in college football and how the recruiting landscape works, but there's always this thought of, man, hey, we didn't want him. We broke up with them. They didn't break up with us. We were always going to be good, whether we landed that 5-star recruit or not. Crazy how that works. NIL kind of factored into that. This is kind of a new one that we do as college football fans. Hey, school X just dropped a bag. No, he wanted to come to us, mom and dad. We saw him wearing our gear over the course of this past weekend on the socials, and we feel like he was coming to us, man. But at the 11th hour, so-and-so came through and dropped a bag. Let me be clear. That does happen. Bags being dropped in the NIL world, it's a reality. But the thing that I don't understand now, and the thing why it's toxic, is because when you complain about a bag being dropped and being outbid by another school, that means, 1, it was a matter of money. 2, because it was a matter of money and they had more than you and you weren't willing to spend to land that recruit, what are we talking about? What are we arguing? What are we complaining about here? It was a matter of money. You didn't meet the price point. That other school did. It is what it is. Just because you didn't pony up for the 5-star recruit doesn't mean you get to be salty that someone else did, man. It's that's capitalism, right? Or I think it's capitalism. Free market. It is what it is. Let's not complain about that. That's toxic. Last couple to get to here. Folks that question the play calling / the demeanor of the coach, toxic. Toxic. And I get it. It's human nature. We're sitting here as fans. We're not playing on Saturdays. We can only affect the outcome so much, so we got to look to somebody to blame. And the thing that is just wild is, hey, why did they call that play? Hasn't worked all year long. You might have a point there. It might have not worked, but that coach or that coordinator has dedicated probably 80 hours during the course of that week to be best informed and best positions to make the right call for that specific moment. So if you think someone else would have worked, yeah, probably so. Maybe so. I think you can have a point there that play against that defense didn't work. But at the same time, man, you haven't put in the work. You haven't put in the 100 hours during the week to be able to call that play for that coach. He has. He's got all the information and then some. He knows his team. So calling the plays from the couch, man, I get it. I've done it before too, but it's toxic. It's not something we need to really take part in as college football fans. And also, it's just kind of a bad look, if we're going to be honest here. Last thing, questioning the demeanor, as I mentioned a second ago, toxic. Toxic, man, because the thing is, a coach's demeanor is always viewed through the lens of how well that football team is doing. Baylor's Dave Aranda is a perfect example of this. When I was in Waco and was covering Baylor, Baylor, I think it was during the COVID season, won like 2 games. It was bad. It was very bad. And everybody is like, man, Dave Aranda, he's just not emotional enough. He's not fiery enough. He doesn't have the juice and the leadership it takes to win football games here in this power conference that is the Big 12. Doesn't have it. Wish he did, but doesn't have it. He's not a leader. Players don't respond to it. And then you fast forward the tape 1 year later, they win the Big 12 title, and everyone's perspective on Dave Aranda had totally flipped. He's stoic, man. Hey, you see on the very last play there on that goal line stand, he didn't even flinch. They poured Gatorade on him. He didn't even crack a smile. Like he's even keel. He's unflappable. He's stoic. That's why he's such a good coach. You win, you're stoic. You lose, you're soft, you're unemotional. Dabo's a great example too. You win, you do things your own way. You're a culture guy. You're fun to be around. The players love you. You lose, you're corny. You're out of touch. Like, question the demeanor, toxic. But it is what it is. We're human. We're college football fans. You're one of a kind. And nothing like college football, nothing like college football community as a whole that we're glad to be a part of, and we're glad that y'all are a part of here. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.